This week we're talking about Brunello di Montalcino, one of my favorite wines, and a great follow-up to Chianti. So Brunello was started in the middle 1800s. It was really just bottled before that as a wine called Chianti Colle Senese, but this is a very specific wine with a very strong provenance, and the Biondi Santi family was the family credited with creating Brunello di Montalcino, and Clemente Santi was an early experimenter with these grapes, and the family moved on to Tancredi, and Tancredi was followed up by by Franco and Jacopo, and now back to Tancredi is the next generation of the family. So I don't represent Biondi Santi, but they're a very important company in the history of this. The 1888 is declared as the first Brunello di Montalcino. The wine still exists. They have a few bottles in the cellar. I think they have one bottle left of 1891, and Tancredi and his wife drank a bottle on their 60th anniversary less than a decade ago. So the wine is still holding, and is kind of proven by that stretch that these are the longest aging wines in Italy. So just to give you a brief overview of the four wines, the wines are really actually tied together by the second wave. So by the turn of the First World War, the only wine left was Biondi Santi. By the Second World War, there were a lot of other producers, and then things slowly crept up after that. So by the 1970s, there was only about 35 producers, and this is where all of these four people came onto the scene. So the four producers here are Altasino, La Gerla, Casanova de Neri, and Il Maronetto. And they were all started between 1972 and 1974. Most of the first vintages were 1976. Altasino led the charge in having the first cru Brunello. Their first was Montalcino, so a single vineyard Brunello. All of the holdings of all of these estates are on the north of the town of Montalcino and in the northern province. So Altasino is about 3 miles outside of the Montalcino township, and you can see the hill from them directly to the north, but facing to the south. And La Gerla and Il Maronetto are both on the slope of Montalcino, heading up to this walled fortress village. And the Casanova de Neri, at the time that these wines were coming into inception, the wines were quite expensive, and the land was quite expensive still in the early 70s, and they bought far to the east, and they bought a very cold vineyard called Certaldo, which is an amphitheater, and gets now perfect ripening. So going cooler was the way to go, even 40 years ago. So all of these wines are marked by their single vineyard crus, specifically Certaldo, Gliangeli, which is the part of the original Biondi Santi holding, the Casanova de Neri, the Certaldo is the famous vineyard, and Il Maronetto is Madonna della Grazia, and this is the original vineyard surrounding the abbey of the name of Il Maronetto, which is where they kept all of the chestnut flower for the pilgrims on their way to Rome. The nuns did at the time. So 4 very different takes on Brunello, all in a very classic sense, and the ownership here has maintained in the family. Elisabetta Nudi Angelini is the new proprietor of Altasino. She did not create this, but she owns Caparzo as well, and this was an introduction. Caparzo was the introduction, but she calls Altasino the jewel in her crown. So really enjoy these 4 things. On the email, I sent some maps and some additional information, and even a Google Earth view. So get an idea of where you are in Montalcino, and really enjoy the difference between these 4 different Sangiovese wines. Cheers.